What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. What if Naruto obsessed with Anko? If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments. And also check the description to original creator of this beautiful creation. She snorted as she examined the panties she had just pulled from her dresser. What the hell was I thinking when I bought these? Mitarashi Anko asked herself as she threw them back and pulled out another pair. She took this one and stuffed it into her suitcase. Despite what most people thought about her, this was unusual for her. Most of the time she liked things organized, but now she was only roughly slamming stuff in. To simply explain what the girl was feeling was near impossible. I, in my limited sense, have tried to fathom what she was experiencing as best I could. However, I can simplify it in this sense: she had had enough. For over 11 years she had endured unwanted or undeserved stares and questions about what she was doing, and despite her best failed attempts, who she was doing it with. She's the only one who was with him so much. They shared a house, she couldn't have not known. There's no way a woman like her could become so strong naturally. Why was she gone for so long that one time? I heard that she helped him. Ibiki's been much more productive since she joined. What the hell was Sandame-sama thinking letting her go? These questions, not whispered, not screamed, but merely spoken, drew from her not only hope but seemingly her very life. It caused so many parts of her to hide, to slither into the dark bowels of her heart. She didn't really smile anymore, just the mischievous or frightening smirks she threw at targets and allies. Whichever was deserving of which one. She was tired, dead tired, of people whispering, traitor, snake slut, whore, and other such names behind her back. Even if they didn't say such things, she knew no one would openly approach her for anything more than a fast fuck. And even then not one of them bothers to stay the whole night. Not that she wanted them to stay. Waking up to their fidgety stares and lack of attention to her was not something she wanted. Plus, even if they did have the balls to sleep with her, she knew they wouldn't even try her cooking. Not many people knew Anko liked cooking, or singing, or dancing, or her favorite colors weren't blood red and black but fuchsia and lavender. Or that if she had the choice of brutal monkey and cuddling, she would choose the cuddling. Or that it didn't really matter. No one cared, no one knew, and no one cared to know. It didn't help matters that recently her Anbu captain, one of the few she could loosely call a friend, who knew of her many different loves and hobbies, had just been convicted of killing his entire family. Yeah, that's gonna help you get service from the pimpled prick at the Quickie Mart. As these thoughts rambled through her skull, Anko grumbled as she found yet another pair of atrocious panties within her collection. Did I go shopping when I was drunk or something? Yeah, maybe, she mused. Well, at least I'll leave my mark on the next person to rent here, she said, laughing with her arms crossed. Soon tears brimmed at the sides of her eyes. She hastily wiped them away. I will not hold it against you if you do eventually leave Anko. However, I'd be both saddened and disappointed if you did. You have much potential, the voice of the third said to her. Potential? That's a joke, she whimpered, a very bad one. I've chosen you to be my apprentice. Because of the potential I see in you. Anko-chan. She shook her head, the feeling of intense disgust and cold flowing through her. Hurriedly, and with new purpose, she resumed her packing. As she stuffed piece after piece of unmentionable panties and clothing into her case, she made note of her other case. It was part of a special scroll he had left her. The package contained some of the things she hated and enjoyed most about herself. She put down a pair of panties she actually enjoyed and crouched down by the case. It was a specially made metal that would react to anyone that did not charge chakra to the correct level before touching it. She did the recommended action and clicked it open. Inside was a set of polished, oiled, and well-maintained torture devices. Made to actuate Anko's earth chakra affinity. The set itself had been given to her by Ibiki when he joined her division. Listen to me, Mitarashi. I don't give a shit what happened to you in the past, who did it to you, who thinks you did it, or what your favorite snack is. I'm in charge of this division. And I chose you because you showed an aptitude for the one thing few people in this village seem to have. You have focus for this kind of thing. So welcome to the interrogation and torture division of Anbu. I hope you have a strong stomach. I'll be teaching you personally. While she had managed to keep her tears in check, she knew Ibiki had realized how she felt. It had been the first show of respect and honesty toward her since she met Itachi. She closed the case and laid her forehead against it. As she did, she realized what she was wearing. Her protector. With a steady breath Anko stood and removed it. The leaf symbol seemed to mock her. With an angry and vicious flash of her fingers she scratched a deep gouge into the plate. It nearly cleft the stupid thing in two, and she wished it had. Below her, on the first floor of her two-story apartment building she heard a roaring chime. It was 12:15. The patrol for the wall would be changing in 75 minutes. The time to go had arrived. Anko dashed through the back alleys of Konohagakure no Sato. Pride and disdain all in one flooded her chest. He taught her that lesson that sent her sprawling down these crowded and very dark streets. Part of her was sickened by the thoughts of her old mentor. A fuzzy and pained memory was spat out from her hardened brain. Always know the secret ways. Even if it is only fit for rats, any secret direction or path is infinitely better than one that is always hid by the sun. Remember that, Anko. He always left off the Chan when telling her something important. It was one of the few things that made her see past the loving father image she had built up over her many years of apprenticeship. Anko hissed his name and leapt into the air, clearing the top of a 3-story building. Landing in a crouch she cursed at how complacent this place was, even after such genocide. The Anbu patrolling the sector didn't even bat an eyelash when he saw Anko make for one of the hidden gates. They merely assumed she was doing her duty for the village. The infuriated Junin spat onto the ground and hurried past one of the few men that got her riled up without even trying. Well, she tried anyway. His words stopped her dead. Yo. Where ya going, Anko? She contemplated running, but she realized trying to get away from Hitaki Kakashi when he was interested, no matter what book his face was in, was impossible. Mission. During shift change? Yeah. With no headband? Yeah. Really? The lazy ninja was leaning against a water tower support beam. Anko cursed as she stood at the edge of the same building. The gate was merely 50 meters away. It might have been a million with Kakashi next to her. His beady black eye continued to scan his book. I have to say, even for you this is pretty ballsy, he said as he turned a page. Anko glared at him. What do you know about me? She felt his eyes, or one of them at least, on her, none of the good stuff at least. I would like to say I knew you were a stronger person than to leave your home and keep your comrades or all you need bullshit to yourself, Hitaki. I don't have any comrades here. Anymore, he said just loud enough for her to hear. The purple-headed Kunoichi stiffened. You aren't helping your cause, she hissed. He mused at how cute she looked when she had a killing intent in her eye. Yeah, but you were going to leave no matter what, I or the third said, right? So might as well go. You have less than 10 minutes to get out of here undetected. She cursed, glanced at the moon and sprinted off. Hitaki Kakashi sighed. He looked up at Moon in melancholy and then returned to his smut. I'll keep this little talk to myself. If Homura-sama or Kotaru-sama found out they'd kill me, or try anyway. Anko was running like she was trying to avoid something on fire. The fury and pain and sadness in her chest burned hard. That, and she knew someone was following her. They had been ever since she had stopped to talk to Kakashi. She knew it wasn't him because if he had decided to come after her he wouldn't be so blatant about it. Whoever it was had some crazy chakra going on. This is not how someone trained by the fucking snake Sanin is supposed to make an escape from her village to become a missing fucking ninja. As she was mentally raging at the world she tripped. The offending piece of trash sent her flying into a building that would have been on the outside of the left turn she was supposed to make. Her head connected flush with the brick and caused a pain unlike any she had felt in her life to travel down her spine and into her toes. She let her body fall flat on the ground, blood slipping from her hair down her face. She wished that other wetness was blood. She would rather be bleeding from her eyes instead of crying. She was not crying. She couldn't be crying. Of all the things she was doing, she was not crying. You okay? A small voice called. She didn't bother to move. The sound of something being moved was deafening to her ears. Sis, you okay? Not really, kid. She thought it was a kid at least. Grunting, she pushed herself up by her arms and then to her knees. Oh, it's you, he said. Anko sighed. The way he said that was really the icing on the cake. It just had to be the one kid with no curfew that recognized her on her attempt to escape. She turned to give this stupid kid her worst glare, one that had once caused a battle-hardened mist nin to piss herself, when she caught sight of him. She stood, almost reactionary. The kid standing before her was wreathed in shadow, the alley had no lights and everyone was asleep. The only source of illumination was the moon and an odd street lamp on the other side of the narrow entrance. And his eyes, they were glowing. From that light she could his blonde hair and hideously dirty and orange shirt. "It's you," she said. "The Kyuubi brat," she thought. "Yeah, so," he kicked his feet. "You leaving the village? Fairly astute of you, kid. What makes you think that?" she scoffed. "Because your friend Itachi killed a bunch of people and left too, right?" Anko started. Her head made a swinging motion. She had been about to leave this kid. And now he dropped something like that. "What, how do you?" He scratched the back of his head. "The Uchiha never liked me. They always arrested me and took me to the old man if I got too close to a paint or a prank store. One little gag like the time I put some itching powder on their uniforms and they go crazy. Well anyway, I always saw the two of you around. I used to follow you." Anko felt a flush creep to her cheeks. She remembered 1 or 2 times she had tried to seduce her younger captain. "Why?" He was silent for a few minutes, a few precious minutes. "Why, kid? Because you two were the only ones like me," he finally relented. Everyone hates you too. They look at you like you did something wrong. You always do stuff for the village. I see you all the time, bleeding and needing help, but the guards never call for meds. Now if the Uchiha guy ever stubbed his toe they'd make sure the hospital was cleared out. But he hated it. They didn't like him, his clan. And I think the only reason I was scared to talk to you guys was because we're the same. But the one thing that made us different was that you guys know why other people hate you. And I only get to guess." Anko gaped at the boy. He had just described something that made her blood run cold. It was like looking at herself so long ago. Just after being abandoned by him. "What?" she gulped. "What is your name, kid?" He looked up at her. She took in a sharp breath. His eyes had become slits, like a cat's. "Uzumaki Naruto. Why are you out here so late, kid?" He looked at the ground and kicked his feet again. "The old lady at the orphanage told me to stop doing that. She tells me every night but I don't know what I did. So she threw me out saying when I stopped doing it, I could come back." Anko most likely guessed, it referred to what she had just seen. "So the kid has naturally good night vision. Cool. So you've been wandering around out here all night?" He mumbled something. "What? All week. I try to go back every night, but she just keeps hitting me with that stick thing." Anko felt a little bit of the hatred for him move to this old lady at the orphanage. What kind of sick bitch leaves a kid out all alone for a week? The kind of woman who doesn't see a kid, but a demon. "So, kid," he looked at her. His gaze, just slightly on the intense side, made Anko blush. She rubbed the back of her head. Do you want to have somewhere warm to sleep tonight?" He started and took a step back from her. "Are you like that guy?" "What guy?" His voice became dangerous suddenly. "The one who took my shoes and clothes." Anko bristled. "What?" Naruto was more taken aback by her anger than anything else. "Some prick took your clothes? What did he do to you?" He relaxed, but not completely. "Nothing. I threw a shuriken I stole from one of the Uchiha guys when they left me in the waiting room one day. I hid it in my leggings. He tried to touch me but I cut off his fingers with it before I threw it. He's got a scar on his neck now." Anko felt something odd take hold of her. Was he a ninja? Naruto furrowed his forehead and thought. I don't think so. I always saw him in the village with carts full of stuff. Boxes and bundles. While a part of her was relieved at this revelation, another part of her seemed to become odder and odder. So, carts and storage materials. He's most likely a porter that serves the merchants of the village. "Do you remember where he lives?" she asked softly. Naruto became tense again. "Why?" Anko crouched down and removed the special metal case. She opened it and revealed one of the more viscous-looking instruments. "Because I hate people who mess with kids. Especially kids like me." Naruto looked at her. Something in his mind told him this woman was dangerous. She was a friend of the guy who killed all those Uchiha. But the Uchiha people had always hurt him. And that Itachi guy would always give him ice cream if he was with his little brother. So if the dead Uchiha were mean, but were considered the good guys, and the living Uchiha was nice, but was considered the bad guy, then did that mean? Naruto shook the complicated thoughts out of his head. There had been a few close calls with guys like the one this woman had heard of. Once or twice, he hadn't gotten away as scot-free as he just explained. And a few had started when people asked him if he wanted help. But this was different. They had tried to be nice to him. She was being, well, mean. She didn't want him to like her. And from what he gathered, she didn't really want him to trust her that much either. The other people, men and women, had all been too trusting. It had caused many to lose fingers and toes to Naruto's teeth when he realized what was going on. What are you going to do to him? Anko's eyes, which were now gleaming in the soft and almost vacant light of the alley, swiveled to him. I'm gonna do what he was gonna do to you. But I'll make sure it hurts. Hurts bad. Because that's what I do, kid. I punish people who break the laws. And messing with you is a big law. Naruto looked back at the ground. If you keep the laws, why are you running away? Anko seemed to be knocked out of her revelry. She snorted. Well, at first it was because I hated people looking at me and treating me like a snake about to strike. Like, you were about to kill them. But when they found out you either wouldn't or couldn't, they begin to be mean. Hurt you, make fun of you. Show you how worthless you are, he finished for her. Yeah, she sighed. She still held the shiny thing in her hand. Naruto kinda liked how it was really bright even in the darkness. How? His small body began to shake. How can I trust you? It wasn't always guys who tried to touch me. Girls did it too. Anko snapped her case shut and stood. She tossed it to him and it skidded to a halt at his feet. Carry that. Only touch the handle. If you don't, you'll get shocked. She walked past him and headed back to the street. You didn't answer me, he screamed. How can I trust you if you were his friend? Anko stopped and looked at him over her shoulder. He waited a moment before turning. His eyes widened as he saw Mitarashi Anko with a halo of light around her face. But instead of becoming angelic, she became demonic. Her eyes were two deep, muddy pools. He saw the same beasts of torment slipping in and out of them, flowing from eye to eye. Because kid, she said just loud enough for him. You just can. Uzumaki Naruto blinked. She stepped back into the street and took a deep breath before she began to tap her foot. Another quick glance behind her and he realized she was waiting on him. No one had ever waited for him. No one. You just can. And for the first time in his depressingly sad life, Uzumaki Naruto could trust what an adult said completely. The darkness of the man's home was like a stench. It was everywhere and hard to pinpoint. The man was currently lying sprawled out on a dirty mattress. It was covered in different kinds of filth, all of the human variety. Beside him was what Mitarashi Anko could only describe as the poster girl for jailbait. She was a young and, at one time anyway, pretty thing with soft brown hair and full pouty lips. But her pretty face had become gaunt. Her flesh, stretched taut over her bones, was tan and marked by the different kinds of evil humans could perpetuate. The hair was filled with such levels of whatever she had put her head near, it was stained black. The man himself was bigger than she would have thought the kid could escape from on his own. He had the upper body and leg strength of a lifelong porter and the shaved head to match. She scanned his topless body quickly, finding the abundance of muscles sickening, and locked onto the scar. He was also missing the leftmost two fingers on his left hand. The stubs twitched ever so slightly in his sleep. Anko drew from her long and tattered trench coat a syringe. She filled it halfway with a special drug of her own choosing and forced the needle into the girl's throat. Her eyes shot open immediately. She tried to move but only succeeded in whimpering. Anko replaced that syringe with a specially prepared one. It had a nice serrated needle, perfect for making a lot of pain as it went in. She proceeded to tease the man's scar with the tip. She waited until he smiled in his sleep before jamming it in. He groaned. His teeth bared in a grimace as the painful drug was pushed into his body. His eyes scanned the room and found her, over him, with a shit-eating grin on her face. Heya, I'm Anko. Junin, wanna hear a funny story? She asked. I was just about to leave this village. Become a missing ninja and all that. When I met this kid, who just so happened to have almost been molested by a guy who looks a whole lot like you. And well, if you don't know who I am, then you're too far out of the loop to care. But I'm Orochimaru's old apprentice. Fear and recognition floated over his pupils. Ah, so you know my stance on child abuse. Well, that's why your little tart got the regular paralysis drug and you got the drug that dulls movement, not pain. I'm gonna proceed to softly cut your vocal cords so you can't scream. Then I'm gonna rearrange your organs in alphabetical order. She smiled sweetly before looking at the girl. And guess what happens to Little Miss Rendezvous Organizer? She gets to experience the sensation of someone dying next to them before I surgically remove your clitoris and the first few layers of your vaginal walls. Anko stood back and pulled on a pair of arm-length rubber gloves. She grinned as she snapped her fingers. The door to the dinky apartment opened and Naruto walked in, dragging the suitcase. He deposited it, with a very heavy bout of panting, by Anko's left foot. "Thanks, Naruto. Now go wait outside," she said softly. "But I want to watch." "No. Please. I want to see this guy's guts for what?" "No." Naruto cringed when he heard her voice. She bent down and put a hand on his head. "No. This is not for you. Take heed that he's going to pay for what he did to you. What I do now is for my own benefit. I'm using you as an excuse. So go outside. Don't peek, and remain a kid for a little bit longer." She stood up and adjusted her gloves. "Go, Naruto." He stayed at her side for a minute before doing as she told. He ran to the door and slammed it shut. She waited until she felt his signature go to the end of the hall, where she had put a special genjutsu up for him. No one entering or leaving this floor would see him, and any ninja who did sense the illusion would think it was a fellow ninja in another room. Well, now to work. She bent down, retrieved the case, and set it next to the man. With a flick of her thumbs it was open. "Have a horrible last night, you sick fuck. Because this is the last night anyone messes with Uzumaki Naruto." Anko exited the apartment several hours later. Her face and chest were splattered with blood. She released the genjutsu around Naruto and looked at him. His eyes were a bit wide, but he didn't seem to care she was bloody. He stood up and tentatively held out his hand. Anko looked at it and smiled. She took it in hers and led him down the stairs to the street. The night air was still dark, still cold. But it held something new. It held just a tiny hint of hope. "You didn't tell me your name." "It's Anko, Naruto. I like your name." "Thanks, kid. Yours is kinda cool too." "Where we going?" "My place. Then we'll take a bath. Get something to eat and go to sleep." "Can we have ramen?" "Ramen? Kid, I think it's time I introduced you to something wonderful. Better than ramen." "What is it?" "Dango. Some evils are necessary." This little statement and others like it have caused everything from a mere increase of fines and taxes to genocide and torture. But sadly enough it is true. In a world where warriors who master the deadly and ancient arts of killing, justice is scarce. In fact, the lone man standing in the crisp morning air in the middle of the street rarely believed it existed anymore. This single man once thought that justice was dead. However, he had seen it as not by a mere logical conclusion. Justice is the balance of a decent act against an indecent one. The act of betraying and harming a child is indecent. The act of becoming a guardian of your home and your neighbors is a decent act. Therefore, Mitarashi Anko, for a short time anyway, had been an embodiment of justice to this man. But alas, he cried suddenly, causing some in their beds to shudder violently with memories of a certain martial arts master. "She leaves us in the night." He unleashed one of the quirks that only Anko knew of. Taking a small embroidered handkerchief from his pocket, Morino Ibiki wiped the tears from his eyes. "I should have known. This town was so hard on her when she just wanted to be accepted." He whimpered and shook his shoulders, holding back his tears. Few people know Mitarashi Anko loves to cook, sing, and dance. These few people also know one interesting fact. Morino Ibiki is the biggest, most emotional sap in Konoha. Hands down. Guy cannot even touch this man. Believe it? Well, at least I can deter them from making a direct execution on site order by removing any potentially misleading things from her home. I hope she kept the torture implements with her though. They were a gift after all. The still emotional Ibiki took out his ring of keys and selected the extra Anko had given him after her third attempt to drown her sorrows in hard alcohol. It was also when Ibiki proposed 19 to be the legal limit for ninja in the service to Konoha from the original 16. At least at 19 young girls wouldn't still be whining about their periods. He hoped. Entering Anko's home was continuously a shock to Ibiki. He knew Anko's favorite color was lavender, but still. Few men, even those with UAL persuasion of a masculine nature or otherwise, can handle so much damn purple. At once his innate senses felt two presences in the house. From his memory of the layout, it had to be Anko's bedroom and guest room. He put his hands in his pocket and opened the small fabric compartments that held his special poisoned senbon. Strolling quite calmly, Ibiki started to ascend the top flight of stairs. When he reached the top, the rush of water and creak of a door alerted Ibiki to his immediate right, where Naruto struggled to leave the bathroom. Why does every glass of milk I drink do this to him?" He stopped dead as he saw Ibiki. Ibiki himself was flabbergasted. The Kyuubi kid, in Anko's house. This does not add up. What are you doing here? He asked. Naruto's eye twitched. Normally any unknown presence in his current residence would trigger a panic attack and flight reaction. However, he had Anko now. Home Inavsion. He screamed as he took off straight for Anko's room. Ibiki blinked once more and pinched the bridge of his nose. What is going on? He turned to follow just as Naruto kicked open Anko's door and leapt into his new friend's bed. Anko's groggy face appeared but not before Naruto's flying body tackled her, knocking the wind out of her and causing her head to connect to the wall. Naruto, she snarled. Why are you jumping around my damn house, you little brat? I scared him, Ibiki answered. He waved to his young protege from her doorway. And you have surprised me, Anko. Ah, Ibiki, nice to see ya again, boss. Naruto, who had been momentarily knocked unconscious by Anko's abs and then the floor, suddenly sat up. Home invasion. Ibiki sipped his tea slowly. It was a bit much to take in. Naruto was busy experiencing Saturday morning cartoons for the first time in his life. Random cries of, spin on, and, who the hell do you think I am? Echoed from the living room just next to Anko's small kitchen. Anko herself was gazing in his direction, her eyes showing a somewhat maternal vigilance. So, that murder was yours, Ibiki stated deliberately. It wasn't murder, Anko retorted. His lack of blood is what killed him. I merely helped him drain it. It was assisted suicide if anything. But why the girl? Anko's hands tightened their grip on her own teacup. She tricked Naruto into coming with her. She was gonna use him to replace herself. I see, he took another, slightly longer sip. Sad business. I always believed the sections near the gate to be a bit less desirable than those away from it for a reason. You have no idea. From the next room, pierce the heavens. Ibiki smiled. He sounds happy. He's discovered Dango, how can he not be? Anko asked with a small smile. I'll have to report this, you know. Why? Why? Ibiki responded, his face showing complete disbelief. You all but abducted a child with no claim to him and committed 2 unsanctioned murders. Anko's eyes turned to Ibiki. His own clouded over to avoid being read by his apprentice. In her orbs he saw the dark feelings she hid most of her life after the incident with her former master. A kind of slithering hatred for all like him. I already submitted my report on the deaths. I stated, justified interrogation related, as reason for execution. Justified? No one messes with Uzumaki Naruto, no one. That's the law in essence, eh? Ibiki nodded. So wouldn't attempted rape, torture, and forced imprisonment count as messing? I see your point. So you interrogated them for what exactly? Information on any other children he's fucked up. I got about 4 or 5. I put that in the report too, she explained as she stood to pour herself another cup. Ibiki's sense of justice ticked slightly within his head. Interesting point. I assume the Hokage has heard about this? Anko looked at him with her wide-eyed, do I really look that stupid to you? Glare she had. I turned in the file myself early this morning. Ibiki balked. What? And of course, that was when Anbu came calling. Sarutobi sighed. His pipe was already cooling and the embers in it barely had enough fuel to spark it even after a long drawn-out draft. He eyed the file with a hint of whimsy. His mind, still sharp and acute even at his age, examined everything. Even with only 17 photos from the scene and a minor report from the perpetrating ninja, he already knew what had occurred and how severe the punishment should be. Now he only needed to see if Anko deserved it. While every action he found traced back to his wayward student weighed heavily on the Hokage's shoulders, it did not deter him from his mission. The people of Konoha were his family. And when one member of that family harmed another, it was his duty to punish them. But the question falls on why Anko checked the death brought about through interrogation box. A knock came to his double doors. Enter, he bade. 2 Anbu, Anko and Naruto walked into the room. The Anbu nodded and returned to their posts outside the view of the people in the room. Naruto was too busy rambling to Anko about the show had been watching. Anko, the Hokage's voice was firm, unyielding and commanded a quiet respect of both children. Yes, he viewed even a ninja as distinguished as Anko as a child, before him. Why are these 2 civilians dead? Anko immediately stood as still as a soldier. Sir, during interrogations the recipients of the torture died. Their deaths were due to a lack of medical equipment. Why were you interrogating these 2? And how when the reports from our coroner read 2 very large doses of nerve relaxant? He asked, waving the report in her direction. Anko's eyes flew to Naruto. The small child, realizing what they were talking about was too important for him to understand, had begun playing with a small puzzle Anko had given him. Does it pertain to my special decree? The third asked, intertwining his fingers and resting them on his lap. Yes, sir. Per your decree, the targets were involved in actions that jeopardized the welfare of the decrees. Anko searched for the word, beneficiary. Sarutobi closed his eyes and sighed. So if what she says is true, the most I could afford to charge her with is ignoring protocol. Naruto, the child looked at him. Did you know the man Anko worked on last night? Didn't know him. Sarutobi smiled wanly. Did you know of him then? Yeah, he tried to get a hold of me. But I got his fingers and his neck. Got away. I see. Naruto, could you wait outside please? Sure, Sandame Jii-san. Naruto turned and walked to the door, still fiddling with the puzzle, but he turned to give Anko one last look before opening the door and leaving the room. When the door closed, Sandame looked at Anko. You have done something few people in this village would dare do, Anko. Unsanctioned torture of civilians? Taking a minor that you have no legal claim to? Sir, in all respect, he had been living on the streets for a week. Anko snarled, and merely because of his night vision. Ah yes, that. I was hoping it would fade as he got older. Well, it didn't, and he was nearly raped because of it. She hissed, venomous. Sarutobi blinked, obviously not going to give up his superior air, so. You propose justification? Yes, sir. The aging man sighed deeply and rubbed his chin. Very well, Anko. You will take a 3-week suspension with half pay. Also, you shall take full responsibility for what you have done. Yes, sir, Anko said. Naruto, you can come back in now, Hokage said to a special intercom. Naruto's head appeared, his face showing he was trying to listen in. I wanted to ask you a question or two. Is that okay? Sure, what you need? Naruto replied, taking his place beside Anko, something Sarutobi didn't miss. The old man smiled. Do you like Anko? He asked. The blonde smiled wide, showing off his eerily bright teeth, and nodded furiously. Anko-chan is awesome, he said as he grabbed her hand and swung it back and forth. How is Anko's house? Naruto went into such a flurry describing how awesome and super her house was, the Hokage had to have Anko visibly restrain the boy lest he run out of air. Would you like to stay there? This sudden question caused both of them to stare stupidly at the old man. Mitarashi Anko, you, in direct violation of custody and minor safety laws of Konohagakure no Sato, took in a child you have no legal responsibility for. As punishment, you shall spend the next 3 weeks acclimating yourself and your home to the standards all shinobi guardians must adhere to. He held out a small pamphlet containing the safety standards of a ninja's home. Anko blinked and took the paper, surprised. Does that mean? Yes, Uzumaki Naruto is now under the official care and guidance of one Mitarashi Anko, the old ninja said, smiling widely. Naruto made one of the happiest sounds he had ever done and leapt upwards, before being caught by Anko to avoid the boy from falling and hurting himself. Naruto, Sarutobi called to settle the two down. The blonde looked at him. You will be Anko's ward. As such, you will obey and listen to her as if she was me, do you understand? Anko set Naruto down and the young blonde nodded. He saluted Sarutobi as ancient civilian military would. Yes sir, Sandame Jisan. Sarutobi smiled. He could at least call me Hokage, the aged ninja mused. Well, be off with it, you two. Anko, don't forget to pick up Naruto's things from the orphanage. No problem sir, Anko saluting as well. Both then exited his office with the enthusiasm Sarutobi had not seen in almost 15 minutes since he sent Hayato to a small eucalyptus field. He emptied his pipe into a hidden ashtray and filled it again. There is a good chance that was a decision based on senility. The orphanage was, sadly, one of about 15 in the village. As with its fellow establishments, it had been founded during the Second Great Ninja War after a staggering loss of the adult ninja population. The second had made the decision that such children would be monitored to hopefully, and willingly, one day take their parents' place. Its current proprietor and owner was a stout woman named Shimochi. She looked older than she was due to her husband's long bout with cancer that finally claimed him some time back, and the tragic death of her son during an attack by bandits in his small village on the borders of the Land of Fire. Once bright red hair was now almost white and many shallow wrinkles lined her face. She was sweeping the main courtyard of any leaves and children debris before the end of the afternoon homework time. As she swept she heard someone approach and looked up to see, of all things, Naruto and Anko walking toward her. God damn it, she hissed as she noticed Naruto was walking deliberately toward her wonderfully Naruto-free orphanage. Have you stopped doing it yet, brat? She yelled nearly down the road. A few people looked, amazed at the rudeness, before walking on their way. Heya, Anko said waving when she and Naruto reached the old woman. I'm Mitarashi and I know who and what you are, she hissed. Anko's smile didn't drop in the slightest. Yeah, well I'm Naruto's legal guardian now, so I brought him to get his stuff. Hurry up kid, I'll wait out here. Naruto glanced between them, looking nervously at Anko, but her disarming smile convinced him to run along. Shimochi leaned in close to Anko, whispering venomously in her ear. So you go for things like him, huh? Well, I hope you keep him in a dark hole and use Wim for what? Anko kept smiling and nodding until she saw Naruto enter the house. Her hand shot out quick as a viper and grabbed Shimochi's mouth, squeezing her until they started to bleed. Listen bitch, did you hear about the murder last night? She forced Shimochi to nod. Well, that was me. I killed the pedo because he aimed for Naruto. Because someone let him wander around for a week outside with no food or shelter. So tell me, should I interrogate you too? She forced her captive to shake her head. Good, now I have a question. Anko drew a piece of paper from her pocket and held it up. It was an accounting ledger's page. From her ledger, why do all of the dates for a certain charity donation coincide with the dates Naruto was supposed to receive his family's death wages? Anko asked. Cold sweat broke out on Shimochi's forehead. Ooh, I see. That's cool. Well, you now owe me this amount. Anko used her pinky to point to the lump sum of the death wages Naruto's family had garnered due to their service. If you don't pay me, in any way you see fit, we'll work out logistics later. Then I'll hide a very powerful narcotic on your person, right now, and then litter your orphanage with drug paraphernalia and used condoms. Anko, who had been smiling at the house, turned her eyes to Shimochi and glared at her, drawing the old bag as close as she could. And if you ever let this kind of thing happen to a kid again, or if your many charitable donations came from where I think they've come from, I'll make sure every single parent and ninja in Konoha knows what a careless old bitch you really are. She let Shimochi go and pushed her down. And I'll make a nifty net profit by selling torches and pitchforks and tar for your old fat ass, she said cheerily. The caretaker slowly rose and turned from Anko, holding her face. She passed Naruto, who bowed and said goodbye, and to Shimochi's horror, hugged her leg. Sorry about not stopping the thing with my eyes. I'll try hard to remember the manners you taught me, Naruto said, grinning his bright cheery smile before running to Anko, the bag she had given him stuffed with his clothes and few personal belongings. When he reached his new guardian, Naruto looked up at her. She wasn't mean, was she? Anko looked at him, blinking. Mean? No. And even if she was, do you really have to worry about me? Anko asked, putting a hand on her hip, pushing out her chest, and pointing to herself with a thumb. No, Naruto said, shaking his head. And why is that? Because you're Anko-chan, Naruto said, jumping and throwing his hands up. Banzai. Anko snapped her fingers and caught him, hauling him and his bag over her shoulder like wheat. Right, now let's get some dango, I'm starving. Can't we stop by Ichiraku's? I want you to meet Ayame-chan. She's really nice, she always gives me a kiss on the cheek. Naruto's rolled on Anko's shoulder so her could sit up. If you're nice to her, she may even kiss you. Anko rolled her eyes. Kid, when you get older that will be your fondest memory. Why do you say that? Iruka looked over the results of the various tests his class had just finished taking. So far they had done very well. He began to read off the names. Those that had passed walked down to his desk and took one of their prized headbands. Slowly as the names reached the S's, Naruto began to fidget. He tugged at the sleeves of his orange jacket with his thumbs and forefingers, a nervous habit Ibiki had yet to wipe from his subconscious. His mouth went dry as he heard Yoshida. I did not fail. I did not fail. Of all the things I did today, I did not fail, I hope. Uzumaki Naruto, Iruka called. Naruto stood straight like a board and walked rigidly down the stairs. Way to go. Dead last in the order and the test. Come on, why even pretend, Naruto? You might as well walk out the door. 5-1, he shits himself. If you run home crying, tell your big sis I was supportive of your pain. Naruto stood before his teacher, sweat collecting on his temples and under his arms. His ankle-length coat seemed to be trying to crawl off of his back and shoulders. When was the last time he washed that thing anyway? He heard Ino lament. At least pick another color, God. As per your test results, above average in ranged weaponry skills. Average in examinations and testing, and based on this collection of data I can say without a doubt. Naruto sighed. Anko was right, he just had to take it slow and everything worked out fine. You're a failure, huh? Naruto asked as Iruka's eyes flared red. He jabbed his finger directly into Naruto's nose, pushing the student backward into the bottom-level desks. How could you be such a failure? Iruka roared. Try hard? Naruto stammered. A foot collided with his skull. He looked up to see Ino, the owner of the foot, which was still on his head, and the other girls glaring at him. Why can't you be less of a failureand more like Sasuke? I'm only Naruto, so I can't really. Shut up. I can't believe the Ichirakus even allow you in their stand. Iruka continued to yell, biting his clipboard in half and chewing it. We sure as hell won't now that we know what a failure he is. Tucci and Ayame screamed in unison as they entered the classroom. Soon every adult and child he knew was pointing and saying that damn word, again and again. But the worst came as Ibiki and Anko pushed through the crowd and faced him. Naruto? Oh, I remember this part from last time, the young blonde said as Anko lifted her hand. A series of extremely sharp knives and tools appeared between her fingers. I can't allow such a failure into my home. We'll just have to breep. His fist slammed down on his alarm, jarring it and causing the annoying thing to fall and break. Pulling himself into a sitting position, Naruto rubbed his eyes. He grumbled and swung his feet onto his floor. The soft carpet sent a warm fuzzy feeling into his belly. Well, it would if the images from his nightmare weren't still fresh in his mind. At least give me a wet dream on such a stressful day, geez. Downstairs in Anko's small kitchen, the named owner was making one of her ward's favorite meals. The sugary smell of the French toast wafted around the kitchen and mingled pleasantly with the scent of bacon and coffee. Ibiki sampled a cup as he read through Anko's paper, eyeing the sports scores for several local games of soccer and baseball. He's late getting up, Ibiki noted as he looked at the clock on the wall above the small dinette table. I changed the time his alarm would go off to give him a bit more rest, Anko explained as she flipped a rather large omelette onto a plate and covered it in cheese and ketchup. She placed it in front of Ibiki, who thanked her, folded his paper and prepared to eat. Anko smacked his hands with a wooden spoon. No one eats before me at my table, got it? Ibiki pouted and rubbed his hand. You didn't have to hit me, he whined. Like it really hurt, Scarface, they heard from the small opening. Naruto stood, scratching his lower left side, and yawned. It will hurt more after I beat your ass for calling me Scarface again, Ibiki snorted. Naruto waved away the threat and gave Anko a good morning hug. She patted his head and pushed him in the direction of his seat. She gave him a glass of orange juice and a few pieces of both toast and bacon. Eat up, it will help start that slow brain of yours, Anko ordered as she sat down and started cutting into a 3-stack of pancakes. Naruto grunted and bit down hard on his fork. Anko's eye twitched as Naruto's stronger and sharper than average teeth made dents in her silverware. Aren't insults a form of child abuse? You may damage my fragile self-image, Naruto opined, making a melodramatic pose with his wrist against his forehead. Anko balanced her chin on her own wrist after she finished her latest forkful. You're stupid, ugly, and smell like wet fur on a good day, Anko deadpanned. Naruto made a dismissive sound and pouted as he stuffed bacon into his mouth, and it's crap like that's gonna keep you from having grandkids. Ibiki sipped his coffee. No, that would be your atrocious habits and personal hygiene. I'm smelly now? Can't you think of something better? Naruto asked, honestly disappointed in his two favorite people. Normally he would have been in the middle of full-blown rage fit from their combined insulting ability. So, what's up with you two? I'm not spewing words I shouldn't know yet, he commented. Anko and Ibiki exchanged a glance before both of them set down their utensils and looked at Naruto. We have an important patient today. A high-ranking spy from the hidden mist. We may miss your test. Naruto started. His blue eyes went wide and looked at both intently. Anko and Ibiki immediately lost all traces of emotion as Naruto began to examine their expressions. Ibiki had only one tell. It was so minute and fast it took Naruto 2 years to notice it when Ibiki did it on purpose. Anko on the other hand had learned to transfer her tells to other parts of her body. This amazing mental control was the main reason she wore no bra. What man would examine Anko's hips or forearms for muscle spasms when her S were so blatantly exposed? Of course this is a ninja village. Of all its residents Anko could testify to some freaky fetishes floating around. Naruto's eyes flew around both of them and sadly he found no hint of a lie. There was a good chance he would be alone today. He put his own fork down and fidgeted with the sleeves of the undershirt he had won. Ibiki's hand shot out and smacked his hands away. He grabbed Naruto by the collar and hugged him. "Don't be sad, little one." "Shit, I hit his sappy asshole button," Naruto sighed in his mind. "We will be there with you. In spirit. This man will deafen me before I turn 15. I'm sure of it." He held Naruto at arm's length and looked him over. "Anko and I have taught you every basic move and technique used in this village as well as 3 others. You have mastered them and improvised them in ways to almost touch us when we spar. That is why you will pass. That and because we love you, and no failure will ever stop that." Anko stood up and put her hand on Naruto's shoulder. "That's right, Naruto." However, both she and Ibiki squeezed until Naruto winced visibly. "If you do happen to fail miserably, my love for you will be expressed in intense and frightening pain until you pass, 1 year from today." Naruto gulped and said, "Yes ma'am. That goes for me too," Ibiki put in. "Got it. Now Naruto." Ibiki stood and stretched forth his hand, spaying his fingers and putting one fist on his hip. "Go forth and prevail." Yeah, I'm gonna go wash my teeth first." "Very good. Oral hygiene is next to Hokage-ness." Anko and Naruto both pinched the bridge of their noses. As Naruto passed her she gave him a few signals in sign. "It's your fault he says stuff like that now." Naruto grinned, showing off his overly white teeth, even after eating, and headed back upstairs to his bathroom. Anko raised an eyebrow as she looked at Ibiki, who was holding his pose. Reason? Motivation. Anko turned from him and walked toward her own bathroom. "I'm gonna take a shower and get ready. Are you alright or?" "I'm fine. Gotcha." Anko shook her head and closed her bathroom's door behind her. As soon as it was locked, a shiver ran through her entire body. An image of Naruto's grinning face flashed through her head. "Ooh." Anko sighed. "His first girlfriend is gonna be a freak," she lamented, stripping and turning on her shower. Anko sat on her bathroom's stool and poured water over herself. His first girlfriend. Faye. Not from this village, Anyo sighed. 4 years prior. Ward age, 9, guardian age, 20. Anko sat on her stoop in the gloom, glaring at the small collection of people across the street in the alley. They had kept to the shadows, however Anko had used a small ninjutsu to give herself heat vision, and saw them clearly. She also saw the pipes and swords they had in their hands. She was partially surprised that such a force would be assembled after she had taken the kid in. Partially surprised, she lifted the bottle of beer she had and tested how much was left. She had been drinking it sparingly, making sure not to get drunk. She did not want to have beer goggles on while only seeing the spectrum of heat. No matter how awesome that could potentially be. She drained her beer, while keeping one eye on the group, and decided to test the waters. She flipped it in her hand and spun it toward the leader. With a satisfying crunch it crashed against his head and sent him tumbling to the ground. "Snake bitch." Anko stood and cracked her knuckles. "Come and get it, boys." The mob of 4 men and 2 women charge. A man and woman duo had ninja training by how they kept behind the civilian meat fodder. Anko smiled and snapped her fingers. Suddenly 10 Anbu surrounded the mob. "Shit," the impromptu leader said, his head twisting back and forth. "Ooh, I'd hate to be you guys in the morning." Anko, check her watch. "I'm gonna get some sleep, guys, make sure they're treated nice. I am the lead torturer for all criminals who break the decree of the third concerning my little ward," she said, grinning before making her way back inside. With a grunt Anko released the technique and rubbed her eyes. They always stung when she deactivated it. "Anko?" a small voice from down the hall asked. Her head shot up and she saw Naruto's telltale glowing eyes looking at her. He was sitting on the floor with his legs up to his chest. She sat down next to him and put an arm around his shoulder. "Why aren't you asleep?" she asked. "I had a bad dream and went to your bedroom. You were outside, so I just waited down here. Then I heard those people, why do all the adults hate me and tell the kids to ignore me?" he whispered, burying his face in his knees. Anko hugged him and put her chin on his head. "Let's go to bed, Naruto." As she stood, she watched him for a few minutes before he followed. Donning the signature garment, Anko rolled her sleeves up and checked her tattoos. The special summoning styles mixed in with ornate ink painting. Her favorite piece was the one on her back. It had been designed, for the most part, by Naruto when he was first learning seals and other, quick, ninjutsu abilities. The image was entirely tribal, for which Naruto was actually a pretty good artist at, and showed a large and powerful fox biting the neck of a huge many-headed snake that had entwined its many tails around a beautiful maiden. Despite her love of the image, Anko could not help but shudder at the imagery and meaning behind it. Her hand absently went to her curse seal and rubbed the skin. What she hated the most about was how soft and velvety the seal felt, like fabric that had been glued to her. Her nails brushed against it, sending shockwaves of equal parts revulsion and ecstasy through her body. Hissing, Anko dug her nails into the marred flesh and glared at her reflection in the mirror. Beware such things as self-mutilation, Anko. They do nothing more than prolong your acceptance of the pain you wish to replace. She stopped and pulled her hand away. Small lines of blood dotted her fingertips and palm. Using the faucet, she wiped her hands and walked out to see Naruto slurping noodles from a cup of ramen. "You just ate, Naruto. Don't overeat, it'll make you slow." "I know. I'm just still hungry. You know how it gets sometimes," he explained. Anko nodded. "I'm heading out. How long do you guys think it will take?" he asked when they had gone outside. Anko locked the door and looked to Ibiki. He shrugged. "Mist are either psychotics or fanatically loyal. Only a scant few are normal-minded ninja who can easily be interrogated with mild techniques. It could be all day." "I'm sorry, Naruto." The blonde in the orange jacket shrugged in response. "It's fine. You guys are the ones missing out. Watch as I obliterate that smug smile right off Uchiha's face." Anko gave him a thumbs up as the three went on their way. "Knock 'em dead, kid. The Mitarashi name is on the line." "Gotcha." Naruto turned and ran up the side of the nearest building before he began leaping toward the school. He stopped and checked the time on the clock tower and grinned. He had about 3 hours before he had to sign in for the test. And he had just restocked his paint supply with his last allowance. Naruto wiped his forehead with his arm and sighed as he leaned back against the trees atop the third's head. He examined his work and smiled. Of course, only things with infrared vision could see it, for now. In his own opinion, the Hokage had never looked so good. He wondered how the effect would be if he did it now, revealing the whole thing to the village. He shook his head after a few moments of contemplation. "Nah, there's a good chance they'd take the opportunity to make me clean it and miss the test. If I pass or fail, this will be my going-away present to the teachers of the academy." Naruto's foxy smile spread until it reached his ears. "I have to wonder if this town is ready for me to be a ninja." He shrugged and tossed his paint brush and roller into the small box of tools and hid it in the small compartment he had made almost 7 years ago on 4th Remembrance Day. It had been originally a hiding place for him, but after he moved in with Anko, he turned it into a storage facility to keep his prank materials hidden. While glancing around, he found a set of stink bombs he had bought just before the prank store he visited closed down. He flipped the box over in his hand and made his second rash decision of the day. "Now listen, Naruto, scent is the strongest sense tied to memory. So you must master using your nose to discern and analyze smells. It helps you keep track of things subconsciously, as Ibiki had once told him. In my opinion," he said to the box, "you guys smell better than wet fur. I'd rather be remembered for you than that." He checked his time, 40 minutes to get down into the school for sign-in, before tucking them into his pocket and sprinting off. There are over 50 instructors and part-time teachers and substitutes at the Konoha Ninja Cadet Academy. The average student may meet half of them and only study under 4 or 5. However, Uzumaki Naruto had met and studied under all 50. Not because he wanted an advanced and varied education, but because of who and what he was. He was generally smarter than them and had a knack for proving it, not in with intelligent discussions, but with mind-shattering displays of cunning. Gentai shook in her seat as she hugged her arms. "I'm not doing it," she bellowed. Iruka rubbed his scar. "Why?" You remember what he did to me. I'm not going to be his watcher. What if he has more of them? Gentai is tragically afraid of spiders and birds. This fear is irrational and powerful, and the main reason she instructs instead of serves in the main force of ninja. Naruto made a fully functional bird-spider hybrid puppet and chased her with it after she gave him an F in Foreign Enemy Studies. The original project he did was try to create a Kusa ninja disguise, which failed because the grasses and plants he needed did not grow in Konoha's forests. Despite using what he had, it should have been at least a C. So despite her, he asked for another chance and studied up on Sanagakure chakra puppets. While his used regular strings, it was made using actual bird bones and real spider fangs from specimens Ibiki kept to test poisons on. The end result was Naruto had to be transferred because after he chased her, he claimed he could create another one from scratch at any time, and he would counter all prejudice from her with an army of the puppets. Iruka, who had been one of the many teachers who thought Gentai's hysterical run of doom to be hilarious, could not argue. Alright, fine, Fuki-san? The long-haired man shook his head furiously. Hell, no, why not? Iruka, it took 15 separate washings to get the smell of cats and mice out of my uniform. And in the end I still had animals chasing me for weeks. And it wasn't just one, it was all of them. He spread those pheromones like wildfire. Had to move out of my house because of him. Iruka's shoulders sank. The only good thing about this situation was they were admitting they would not be neutral watchers of Naruto's performance today in the test. Normally a single test of ninja techniques would be all that's required. However, with increased hostilities between their neighbors and rumors of powerful ninja organizations increasing, the Hokage had declared a fundamental change in the way testing was done. A complete exam of all aspects of the student, physical ability, technique, and knowledge of ninja arts and lore were required. The test would be done one class at a time, each of the 30 students being watched by a single teacher who evaluates how they react to the different pressures and rigors of the test. Even a perfect score can be null and void if the child that gives it is too focused on the test and not on what he has learned. Conversely, a student who does poorly on the test, but shows strong character may still pass and become eligible for genin status. However, this all hinged on the child having a watcher. And the only student in Iruka's class yet to be assigned on was of course Uzumaki Naruto. Well, at least it's not because he's a demon, a real one anyway. Iruka mused as he looked at the 15 teachers available to watch his wayward student. Listen, I know you all have bad feelings toward Naruto because of his pranks, but we all know he's had a harder life than most. It doesn't help that woman he lives with encourages his behavior. A female substitute chimed in, her hands crossed over her perky S. Why do flat-chest women hate Anko more than normal? Iruka decided to think about that later on. Noted, but can you fault him? In many cases he had a legitimate reason for acting out. We all know it's difficult to get a single teacher or administrator's attention on such a subject, and we work for the system. How is a child supposed to react? A few wriggled in their seats, uncomfortable with being pegged as uncaring to the boy. It had taken quite a bit, but many realized he was far more than what the early years of his life had led many residents to believe he was. The mural in reverence to the 4th and 3rd Hokage, showing both in their prime against their most noteworthy foes, Kobito Nisai of the Stone for Sarutobi, and the 9 Tails for the 4th, on the side of the school, was a testament to it. Not because it was abnormally beautiful or anything, it was actually fairly mediocre, it was just they hadn't figured out a way to wash it off yet. An aide in the back raised his hand. Fine. I'll do it. I'll watch Naruto, Mizuki called. All good. Now that everything's set, we can finally go through the final checklist for the physical test course. Hojujin? I believe you had that. The named shinobi stood and addressed his colleagues on where to stand and observe their respective students. Mizuki, however, was no longer listening. His plans for the day were far different than anyone else's. Sakura grumbled softly as she stalked toward class. Her stomach was killing her. She had tried to eat something this morning, but the end effect was her body didn't want it and she nearly vomited it all up. She had already missed the deadline for the early exam a month ago and now had to take this exam and pass if she wanted to be in a ninja squad before the next year's graduates qualified. All in all, today was going to suck. And the person walking in front of her was not helping. Naruto was eating a very large piece of fried pork, and had pasted it with his own bottle of sauce. And it smelled damn delicious. He turned to regard her. Sure you don't want some, Sakura-chan? Anko's special meat sauce is the best. I even pour it into my ramen. Sakura's mouth would have watered if the idea of sauce and ramen didn't make her stomach churn. I'm sure Naruto. I don't want anything she made. Sakura didn't catch the slight twitch of Naruto's left eyebrow as he turned to face forward. A sudden smacking sound alerted her to the way he began to ravenously eat the pork. Why are you even walking this way? You live on the other side of the academy. She grunted, shoulders drooping. Well, I had to speak to the old man and decided to stop by the ramen stand. Ichiraku Jii was trying out a new way to make pork before putting it in the ramen and asked if I wanted some, so I got a free piece, he said happily, his mouth full. Well, can't you take, I don't know, a different way? I'm downwind of you and that horrid coat of yours. Did you roll around in some mud puddle or something? It hasn't rained for weeks. And actually I'm downwind of you and you need to start eating better, he retorted as he licked some sauce from his fingers. What? She snorted, stopping short. Naruto turned to regard her and sucked on the stick he had used to hold his pork. You smell bad. It's because you don't eat enough or the right stuff, so when you fart it smells like nothing. Sakura's face turned bright red. I don't fart, she bellowed. The looks many turned to give her caused her whole body to turn red. I don't fart, she said in a softer tone. Yeah, you do. And they smell like nothing except minor intestinal bacteria. You need to eat more. Some of us can't afford to be pigs, Naruto. Yeah, but then again some of us, remember, we're only 13. And it's not healthy to deny your body food when it's growing. This will cause your tits to stay small, you know that, right? He deadpanned. Sakura's red coloring from embarrassment suddenly changed to anger. She clenched her fist and flung it as hard as she could into Naruto's face. She smiled wickedly as she felt his nose under her knuckles. He fell backward, blood trickling from his nostrils and his eyes white. Go die, Naruto, she roared, walking by the prone form. After a few minutes the body became mud and sank into the ground. Arriving at the academy always caused mixed feelings to the young Haruno. She knew her mother was inside, her perfect size 7 mother with her amazing hair and blazing green eyes and dozens of awards for academic success. You want to be a ninja? What has gotten into you, Sakura? Why would you want to be a glorified killer? Is that what you really want? To kill people for a living? Why can't you want to help them like me and your father? Fine then, I'll sign it, but you better be as good as you think you can be. As good as I know you can be. Sakura clenched her fists and stormed inside toward her classroom, ignoring the waves and smiles from teachers. But when, while watching her feet in the image of punching her mother in the face just like she had to. Naruto, a female voice cried. Sakura looked up to see a certain pair of blondes running down the hall from behind her. Give it back, Ino screamed, her arms held out reaching for the end of Naruto's trailing coat. Finders keepers, you stole it from me. He laughed, showing off his vicious teeth, which always craved Sakura out, and waved a small piece of paper. Then you should have hidden it better. It was well hidden. Panties don't count as a hiding place for me. He stopped and whirled, causing her to skid and fall backward on her butt. Naruto bent forward and smiled. I always check the pretty ones there first. His simultaneous compliment and lewd admission had Ino stammering. Sakura snatched the picture from the unsuspecting mischief maker. God, I thought you would have learned after I decked you. She looked at it to see a picture of Ino, at a very young age, standing beside a female actress, or what appeared to be one. In truth it was Muto Kenichi, a famous kabuki actor famed for his amazing portrayals of famous shinobi women. Ino tucked her legs under her and pushed off, spinning around Naruto and wrenching her picture back. With her rear to them she lifted the end of her shirt and tucked it back into her leg wraps. These are special bindings for my waist. No panties, Naruto, she growled. He sauntered up to her and smiled, getting far too close. I love women who go commando. It's so, why, he hissed. Ino put her hand on his face and pushed him away. Nasty. Your breath smells like green peppers and beef. Sakura raised an eyebrow. She noticed that Naruto's nose was fine. Wait, weren't you eating pork? Sakura asked, pointing at him. Naruto looked at her with a wide-eyed stare, which he always did when caught in the act. Oh, he took on a contemplative look. Oh, that's right, you got the mud clone. Huh? Both girls asked. Well, Anko-chan taught it to me a while ago, but I could never hold it together over long distances, so I decided to see how far it could and sent it to Ichiraku's, he explained. It was a clone? Sakura asked. So it said what you would have said normally, right? Yeah, why? Her fist blasted him backward, smoke wafting off of his face. As Sakura stalked by him, Ino raised her hands in defeat. Bending over him she said, "Even I know not to mess with her when her mother is around. Why do something stupid in purpose like that, Naruto?" He coughed, just wanted to liven up the party. And, Ino? Yeah? Naruto gave her a lecherous smirk. Did your boobs get bigger recently because they have a much better shaga? Ino stepped hard onto his face and used him as a stepping stone before following Sakura. Idiot. After she was out of earshot, Naruto took the picture out of his pocket and looked at it. Hey, idiot, who saw your panties? Iruka felt the tension immediately when Naruto entered the room. With a sickening crack he readjusted his nose into place, was washing a boot print off of his face. Considering Sakura was rubbing a set of red and raw knuckles and Ino covered her chest with her arms as he walked in, he could only assume Naruto was up to his old tricks. If he wasn't the container for the 9 tails, he'd be the biggest pimp in Konoha, Iruka mused as he watched Naruto take his seat next to Choji. Damn, what happened to you? The chubby ninja asked. Naruto said his next sentence as loud as he could, "Don't you know Choji? The ladies can't keep their hands or feet off of me." Ino, Sakura, and several other female classmates gave him the death glare. See? They all want me. Choji, who could sense the bloodlust, shook his head, more like they want you in pieces. Naruto pointed at his friend, still means they want me, he grinned. This caused the two to burst into laughter. A series of grumblings alerted Naruto to the third member of their aisle. Hey Shik, how ya doing? Ready to get to work? With vigor and life and enthusiasm? He looked at Naruto out of the corner of his eye. Are you trying to make everyone in this room hate you? Naruto gasped, Shikamaru, how could you say that? Assuming I would aim for such a small and easily adjusted crowd. He leaned into the both of them and winked, I'm aiming for the entire village. You've succeeded. Didn't you notice the first time you were transferred to after only an hour in another class? This is special. You're special, dead last. Kiba called from behind. Naruto looked at Kiba with a deadpan glare. Your sister said the same thing. Leave Hana out of this, you stupid fox. Did you know her right leg kicks when you rub her just right? And not her belly, I mean. Oh, that's it. Kiba jumped onto his desk and crouched down on all fours. Akamaru growled on his head and assumed the same position on his master's back. Calm down. Iruka roared. Can't you all take this seriously? This could be the last day you are all cadets and officially become ninja. I would expect a little more respect for the atmosphere. Naruto held back his, what does a virgin man know about atmosphere, since it was clear Iruka was already on edge. Big tests like this always got him riled up. Now I will go down the list of the different tests. Each test will rank equally in your evaluation and final score. If you wish to pass, you must have acceptable scores in all categories. Average will not cut it. You are aiming to be shinobi and kunoichi of Konoha and will carry on a history of strength to protect this village, and ultimately your friends and families. If you're ready to begin, please sum down, sign in and take your testing materials. Naruto, who had been listening intently, smiled, you know. For a guy that's never kissed a girl before, that was kinda cool. A book of school rules spun and slammed into Naruto's ribs. Silence will be maintained through the entire written exam. Understood? Iruka asked, his eyebrow raised and twitched. Naruto, hunched over in pain, raised his hand in a thumbs-up gesture. Yeah, I'll get you for that though, believe it, teach. Iruka tapped the chalkboard with the piece he had finished writing the tests and their objectives down. Now the first test, the one you already have the materials for, is a written and multiple choice exam. The questions will be based on the basic knowledge of shinobi lore and information you should have obtained during your independent study days. He took out a small pocket watch and wound it. This test will end in 1 hour. He raised his arm and extended his finger. He swiped his arm. Now. Begin. As when the students flipped over their materials. Naruto looked over the first few questions and grinned, baring his teeth in a feral grin. Everyone sitting in front of him shuddered at once. Naruto. A girl who lived near him yelled, "Stop smiling, it's creepy." "How come you only shake like that when I look at you outside your bedroom?" he retorted. She let out a surprised squeal and got hit in the face by an eraser. "Iruka-sensei," she cried. He crossed his arms over his chest. "Teachers need to be impartial, Kasuna. Now shut up and do your test." Mizuki as well as the other 29 watchers were expertly hidden using special passageways built into the walls, ceiling and floors of the academy. He kept his eyes intently on Naruto. His arms were crossed over his chest and held his forearms tightly as he watched the young blonde answer question after question after question. Without looking away from his paper. Shit, it's a 200-question test. There has to be one thing he doesn't know. And when he looks up to cheat off of someone, I'll record it and make sure he fails. This brat hasn't been able to resist cheating on a single test since got to this school, the instructor thought with a grin. Name 4 protocols for 2 separate divisions, 8 in all, of the core shinobi forces of Konoha. The protocol do not need the normal paragraph page line verification code number, however an accurate approximation of the protocol is required. Naruto took his pencil and quickly began to write his answer. First Medical Division. Protocol for moving an injured shinobi from the field includes first binding the ninja's wounds with chakra or at least the basic bandaging. Also included is a requirement for anesthetic depending on the severity of the injury. The injured ninja is then placed on a specially constructed stretcher either made on the spot or summoned. In high combat situations this opens the option to be targeted by patrolling enemies based on the chakra spike, however, as such risks must be weighed. Naruto's mind gave him the answers he needed quickly and correctly. His hand and pencil flew over the paper depositing knowledge he, by all rights, should not have known. With each answer he smiled a little until his full feral grin had returned, causing yet another shudder to rock the student population in front of him. As he finished the final question, Iruka's pocket watch clicked very loudly. Alright, that's it. Everyone turn your papers over, stand up and walk outside to the hall. After your tests are collected you'll be given your assignments for the second part of the test. He tapped the wall at test 2, sparring. Naruto did as he was instructed, picked his coat up from his chair and whirled it on before sauntering down and out the door, an air of superiority and calm wafting from him. He sat down by a random door and watched the faces of his other classmates. Fail, pass, pass, fail, fail, pass. Thought about porn, thought about being in porn. Pass, fail, pass, pass, ooh. Here comes Uchiha-chan. Oh, that's a fail face if I ever saw one. And it looks like he didn't do too good on the test either. Man, that was a waste of time, Shikamaru moaned as he stood next to Naruto. Seriously. I mean question 145, right? Yeah, if a comrade is wounded but the mission objective may still be completed, what are you required by law and duty to do? They asked in unison. The two slackers locked eyes, but not before a rather loud chip crunch made them look up. I failed big time. Most of that stuff was never in my independent studies. Choji sighed as he devoured a big handful. Naruto raised an eyebrow, but didn't your dad pave the way in rescue operations and survival courses? You should have aced it just by proxy. Yeah, but the other questions that had to deal with protocols and rules totally stumped me, he explained. Don't look so surprised, Naruto. Some of us don't live with a career interrogator who must know every rule and bylaw of the village to even qualify for her position, Shikamaru commented, rapping his knuckles on Naruto's skull. A good point? Sasuke-kun, how did you do? A series of female voices asked at once. The raven-haired kid grunted as he tried to get away from the majority of the female population of his class. Not least of which was the alpha and beta bitches of the pack, Ino and Sakura. Kiba walked over to the other 3 guys and snorted, did you know when the alpha male of a wolf pack ignores his bitches they turn on him if they go into heat? He asked with a grin. The image of wolves dressed as Ino and Sakura eating Sasuke's corpse popped into Naruto, Shikamaru, and Choji's head. As when the 3 shook visibly. They're so troublesome. What do they see in him anyway? Shikamaru asked. What does it matter? Emo King Uchiha only has one guy that can threaten his crown and none of the sycophants that follow him will turn to the other heir, Kiba said, his grin spreading from ear to ear. Naruto raised an eyebrow. You talking about me, dog shit breath? He asked after tucking his arms behind his head. Kiba and Akamaru both growled while getting closer to Naruto's face, you know it. I know why you wear that coat and those long-sleeved shirts of yours even in the middle of summer. It's to hide the fact you cut you. Naruto's arms and body flowed into action. In one swift movement he had Kiba in an expert headlock with the dog boy's arms tucked tight behind his own shoulder blades. Naruto's blue eyes flashed purple. You got some balls saying I do something like that, Kiba. Shikamaru sighed and rubbed his eyes. Naruto let him go. Kiba talks shit, we all know that. Shikamaru took a lazy pose and Naruto felt the chakra surge just in time to avoid having his shadow grabbed by letting go of Kiba and dodging Shikamaru's shifting specter. Geez, Shik, it seems you want this sparring match to start off right. Naruto said, grinning. Maybe I do, Foxy. Shik replied, stretching out his left hand and pulling his right arm into his vest. What the hell are you guys doing? Ino called from where she was trying to hug Sasuke. Naruto, leave Shikamaru alone. I don't need you to defend me, Ino. Mind your own business, Shikamaru called back to her. What did you say, pineapple? She bellowed. Ino sauntered forward, bloodlust radiating from her like thunder. Naruto dropped his stance and swirled around Shikamaru to intercept the angry blonde. You should calm down yourself, beautiful. Who knows what might happen to that memento of yours if Shikamaru shows how good he is with kunai. Naruto said as he tapped Ino where he picture used to be. Scoffing, Ino smacked his hand away and rubbed the picture. To find it wasn't there. Her eyes turned a deep red and she cracked her knuckles. Alright, you little vulpine midget, Ino is currently half a head taller than Naruto. Where is my picture? Naruto bowed and tapped his coat pocket. Wear anything that shows you should be, Ino. Next to my heart where the heat of my life can keep it warm. Her fist spun out so fast Naruto almost forgot to dodge. He spun around her arm and pressed his back against her front and wiggled his shoulder blades. Wow, you did get bigger. Give Sakura a list of what you eat so she can benefit from the boost. I heard that, Uzumaki. Sakura bellowed as she charged into the fray. Ino's arms came up and back to try and hold Naruto, but he slipped out of her grasp by sliding down and forward with the amazing control of his equilibrium. Now girls, I want you to know that three ways are almost always one-sided. So, he made a few signs and a copy appeared next to him. They put their arms around each other's shoulders and held up the peace sign. Now there's one for each of you to enjoy. How considerate of him, Ino pig. Sakura asked as she hunched forward like a beast. Indeed, forehead, indeed, Ino replied as she cracked her neck. As the four dropped into separate stances, Iruka kicked his door open. Shield up, Uzumaki, Naruto, Yamanaka, Ino, Haruno, Sakura in here now. Naruto's clone disappeared and he made his way past the angry teacher into the room, his hands in his pockets and chuckling to himself. Ino and Sakura, still fuming, followed suit. Iruka had them stand, arms length apart, in front of his desk. What is wrong with you three today? Normally it doesn't follow you this far into the day. Both girls pointed at Naruto and began to rant loudly and quickly. If Iruka wasn't used to village council meetings, he wouldn't have been able to follow it. Alright, calm down. Naruto apologize. That won't do anything. Ino cried, he's a thief and a freak. Only when around you, my love, Naruto countered. See, WHO talks like that. Iruka strongly considered becoming an alcoholic. You two are just mad. The only guy who openly admits to wanting to be with you isn't Sasuke. Why not take off your panties? He may let you ride his disco stick then, Naruto suggested. You nasty little bastard, Sakura screamed. Sasuke would never do anything like that. She had turned to face him. Naruto replied and leaned in close so their noses were touching. Maybe that's why you should consider me. I'd love to show you how freaky I really am, Sakura. And there's a good chance you'll enjoy it. I've learned from the best. Sakura stammered, her face became red. Shut up, like I'd ever do anything with you. But Sasuke won't do the things I will. So who else will ever show you love, Sakura, if not me? Naruto asked softly. Her brow furrowed and she looked off into the corner, her eyes seeming to swim in their sockets looking for an answer. Naruto, get out and go to your assigned room for lunch. If you cause any more trouble today, you'll be kicked out of the test, Iruka ordered. Naruto faced him, bowed and walked out. Ino watched him go, a look of curiosity and mild intrigue on her face. What Naruto had said was base, crude, and disgusting in its entirety. But what if he was right? Once you have your assigned rooms for lunch, you may go at any time. The second test will officially begin at 1:30, however you must complete at least one legal spar by 3 o'clock. Even if you lose the spar, you may still pass based on performance. Now enjoy your lunches, and do good. You'll be watched so the spars may occur wherever you want, the instructor for their particular lunchroom explained. He handed out a series of lunchboxes to the 6 assembled students. Naruto was in a room with Sakura, Hinata, Shino, and 2 other kids Naruto didn't really care about. The only thing he cared about were their names. He already had a good idea what the real test was about, considering the small compartment on the bottom of his lunchbox. As he finished eating it, which compared to Anko's lunchbox was horrible by the by, he went to throw it away, slipping a small piece of paper out just before it tumbled into the trash bin. He opened it and slipped into a small alcove to hide. "Okami-sama," Naruto whispered as he read the name of his sparring partner. "I praise your name and all the gods you commune with, even Shinigami-sama. I gotta buy some dumplings for an offering when today is over," he whispered before giggling madly. Naruto dashed off and purposefully ran into one of the teachers outside so they would know where he was going. Sakura normally nibbled her food. But because of her extreme hunger and the fact Naruto had pissed her off and dared make her doubt in her feelings for Sasuke, she almost ate the box in her rush. What made her stop was a tiny piece of paper stuck to the bottom inside a plastic sleeve. She swallowed and wiped her hands on a napkin before taking it out. Looking around, she opened it and saw the following note. "Haruno Sakura, to complete your second test you must engage Uzumaki Naruto in a one-on-one spar. When either Uzumaki Naruto or you are rendered unconscious or unable to fight, the test is over. You need not win to pass. Remember, you must engage the spar before 3 o'clock for it to count, even if it takes longer than the allotted time." Sakura couldn't contain her glee. She could beat Naruto's face in all she wanted today. "Oh Kami-sama, I praise your name and all the gods you commune with. I'll be able to use the lunch money I didn't use this week for dumpling offerings." She squealed before finishing her food and rushing out the door. She looked around and heard Naruto's name in a conversation between teachers. "Excuse me, sensei." "Ah, hello Sakura, what do you need?" he asked. "Did you see Naruto recently?" He grunted and nodded. "Yeah, he made a beeline for the sitting area in the park after he nearly bowled me over. He should still be there, I think." "Thank you, sensei." She bowed and headed out. As soon as she got to the door, she opened it and looked outside to see a blonde head of spiky hair bobbing deeper into the small forested area behind the academy. She opened the door slowly before slipping behind a large bush. Using a small burst of chakra, she dashed to a section of trees. She pressed her back against one of the trees and focused on his signature. She blinked slightly. Has Naruto's chakra signature always been that noticeable? He always acts so cool, but he can't even hide his chakra. She slipped into the underbrush alongside the path to the deeper part of the woods. She ran ahead of Naruto's position and saw him sitting in front of a tree using his coat as a pillow, with his hands tucked neatly behind it. She remembered earlier when Ino stepped on Naruto's face and how easily he corrected his broken nose. She decided to see if he could do it twice in one day. Sakura charged, speeding herself up to extent she knew her body could handle, and crashed her foot into the tree. Naruto's head swooped to the right and he even managed to pull his coat out of the way of her attack. She pushed off from the tree and prepared to attack him again. "What are you doing?" he asked bluntly. "Sparring?" Sakura asked. "Why?" "Hinata's my partner," he said. Sakura locked eyes with him and watched as he wrapped his coat around his hands, before putting it back on. "What? How is that possible? My slip says Uzumaki Naruto," she roared. "You sure? I saw the Usachi kid in there with us," he said, throwing his thumb over his shoulder. "No, it was Nakado. It was you. See?" she screeched as she took out her slip and showed him. He took it and then flipped it around to show her as well as his own. USACHINAKADO. Hyuga Hinata. "For the smartest girl in our class, you do some dumb stuff when you're pissed off," he deadpanned. "Hey," Sakura's watcher signaled to Mizuki, "did you see that?" "Yeah, I wonder what he's gonna do." Sakura roared in frustration and punched a second tree. Naruto blinked as he heard the heartwood crack. "Shit, this day has been horrible and it all started with you." Sakura pointed at him and began poking him in the chest. "You're a stupid, freaky, little bastard and you always ruin things for me. Why Naruto, why can't you just leave me alone?" Naruto blinked at her and grabbed her hand. He pulled her close and used his other hand to grab a handful of her hair. "Sakura, grow up." What? Let me go." She tried to break his hold, but he had somehow kept her feet behind her, throwing off her sense of balance. "Why would I take time out of my day for you?" "Why, you said." Don't tell me what I said. I know perfectly well that I gave you the option to have actual substance instead of a pining little girl's dream. You're so deep in Sasuke's ass you can't even tell you smell shit anymore." He pushed her away. "At least Ino is more receptive. She hates you as much as I do." Sakura screamed. Naruto grinned. "Then you must not hate me that much." "What do you mean? Just because we put on this show at school doesn't mean it holds outside these halls. Ino and I have been very friendly toward each other for a while now. Why do you think I know where she keeps that special picture of hers? How do you think I found out how to get it in and out of her body wrap without undoing them?" The realization hit Sakura like a ton of bricks. No way, you're lying. If you want to believe it, Sakura-chan. But Ino and I have been waiting for this test for a long time. Once it's over and we'll be free to spend our entire days together, there's a good chance the Mitarashi clan and Yamanaka clan will be learning a lot from each other. It can't be not Ino. Sakura screamed. Naruto stepped toward her. He took her chin in his hand and raised her eyes to his. "Why do you say that? Doesn't this leave Uchiha open to you and you alone? Do you really think girls like Kasuna and Tokiko will pass? Or do you even really want him?" Sakura quivered as Naruto leaned in. "You are so much cuter when you just listen," he explained. "Listen to what?" she asked as her knees grew weak. "My heartbeat." He pressed his lips to hers. Sakura's eyes rolled as she felt his tongue slide over her lips. Despite her best judgment, she opened to receive it only to feel something small slip down her throat. She pushed him away and gasped as her head began to swim. Naruto grinned and held up their sheets of paper. The names slowly warped and faded until it read Uzumaki Naruto and Haruno Sakura. "You bastard, you tricked me." She swooned and fell to her knees. "We're ninja, Sakura. When they spar, they mean incapacitate, and that drug will knock you out for a few minutes, long enough for my victory to be assured." "When did you learn genjutsu?" she asked. "A while ago, but because my chakra control is bad it releases too much chakra to be effective, but when I'm assigned an actual junin that will be something I ask for help on. I hope I get Kurenai sis. I'd love to study under her. And have her for a teacher too." He laughed lewdly before turning and walking away. "Sweet dreams, Sakura-chan." Sakura slumped forward and clenched her fist, or tried to. Her body barely responded. "I'll get him for this." Her eyes slid closed and she began to snore softly. Mizuki and Sakura's watcher dropped into the area and shook their heads. That was pathetic. A young kunoichi falling prey to seduction. The female ninja lamented, holding her head. "Seriously, and Naruto is least popular guy in school. He played her like a drum. The drug was a nice twist, though I wonder how he did it. He was punched really hard earlier today. I saw him slip a fake tooth in before he entered class. I think it was a backup plan," Mizuki explained. "Anko will be proud. Should we take her to the infirmary?" "Nah, just keep an eye on her. I have to get after the blonde brat." She nodded and jumped back into hiding while Mizuki walked off, cursing under his breath. "Naruto is doing much better than anyone. How could he possibly? Shit, those stupid teachers gave him bad scores on purpose. They made him look like dead last, hoping his actions would get him kicked out. Damn it, I chose the wrong kid." Sakura awoke to find herself still in the forest. She rummaged in her pockets and found a small wristwatch her father gave her a few years ago. It read 10 minutes to 3, and she had engaged Naruto at about 2:30. "Naruto! Naruto!" she roared. She tried to push herself up but wobbled and fell. After a few minutes of embarrassing positions and angry gyrations, she was finally able to get to her feet and stumble back to class. She entered to see a few bruised faces and some people nursing arms in slings with medical ninja around healing them. "Ah, Sakura, I'm glad you made it. The next test won't start for a while, so take a seat and relax," Uruko ordered from behind his desk as he read a book. "Where's Naruto?" she hissed. A medical ninja appeared next to her and began to examine her. "Her pupils are dilated. She was given a knockout drug. Stand still, I'm going to clear the last of the effects from you," he explained as he put his palms on her temples and focused energy into her brain. Sakura groaned as she felt for a single instant a blisteringly powerful headache and in the next a cool calming flow that kept her stable. "Ah, thank you," she sighed. "No need to thank me. You would have been fine in about half an hour. I just sped up the process." "Did you win or lose?" he asked. Sakura mumbled her defeat. "Also, the winner must not be in too bad a shape. He had crouched down to help her but moved now to help another student. Sakura looked around until she saw Ino, who was unharmed as far as Sakura could tell. Some part of her nagged at her to ask her one-time best friend about what Naruto had said. And so she decided to do just that. "Hey Sakura, who did you fight?" Ino asked. "Have you ever done anything with Naruto?" Sakura deadpanned as soon as she was next to Ino. The blonde's head ticked to the side. "Are you brain dead? What kind of drug did you get? Naruto told me that you two did stuff together. And that's why he was able to get the picture so easily," Sakura went on, ignoring Ino's question. Ino leaned back in her chair, tilting it so it was balanced on the back end. She looked from Sakura to her desk, back to Sakura. With a heavy sigh she set herself down and looked at her friend. "Okay, me and Naruto fooled around a little bit a few months ago." "There you happy I admit it." Sakura's eyes widened, her jaw tumbled down and almost rested on her chest. She tried to say something but everything fell flat besides. "What did you two do?" Ino blushed. "It was anything extreme, we just kissed and we kinda touched. He's really good his hands and we'd been working in the garden for a while and I was sore and it felt really good and—" "The garden?" Sakura interrupted. "Yeah, during training with his mother? Sister? I don't know what to call her, but while training with Anko one of his mud clones got blasted into our yard and it tore up some of our flowers. Naruto apologized and brought over a big box full of his own seedlings. He apparently gardens a bit at her house and offered to do yard work for free to make up for it. My parents agreed as long as he didn't cause more trouble and soon enough I start spending time with him." "Then why do you act the way you do?" Sakura asked, spreading her arms in an exaggerated way. Ino looked at her like she was crazy. "If he talked about your boobs as much as he did mine you'd get tired of it too, Sakura. But it's not like we spend all this time making out, I just prefer to see him when he's working in the garden, quiet and composed." "Naruto? Quiet and composed?" Ino smiled and laughed a little. "Believe it or not, yeah." Sakura held her forehead. "God, what happened to you, Ino? You gave your first kiss to Naruto of all people." She wept. "Better than some random man on a mission," Ino shot back. Sakura looked at her with a curious expression. "We're Kunoichi Sakura. When we get into the higher ranks a good deal of our missions will revolve around seduction. I'd rather get everything I can out of the way with people I know and trust before I'm forced to do it so some old fart can have a little bit of information," Ino explained. "Hold on." She stood and grabbed a book from under her seat. Holding it like a discus she waited until the door opened and unleashed it. Poor Nikado was hit dead center between his eyes, sending him flying backward. Naruto stepped over his body and waved at Ino. "Good shot, Ino-chan. You're a shoe-in for target practice." Ino huffed. "Give me back my picture, Uzumaki." Laughing, Naruto ran up to the next on her opposite side of Sakura and placed it tenderly in her hand. "As you wish." He leaned in close and grinned. Ino put a hand on his face and pushed him away, taking the picture. "If you don't stop that soon, Uzumaki, you'll die never knowing another pair of S," the sky blue-eyed girl threatened. Naruto hugged himself. "Ah, but I'd be killed by the owner of one of the most perfect pairs." "But you don't have a thing on Her Highness," he said with a sigh. "And who is that?" Ino asked, actually interested. "Anko?" Naruto gaped at her before laughing. No. Anko-chan is impressive to be sure, but only one woman holds the rank of the princess." Naruto stood on the desk he was at and held up a small banner from inside his cloak. "The darling granddaughter of the first Hokage. The student of the third and the greatest medical ninja to ever have come from our village, the beautiful, busty, and bountiful Tsunade," he said as he showed an image of said Kunoichi. Ino and Sakura blushed greatly as the ideal of all young female ninja ever was wearing a white bikini and posing on a part of the Land of Fire's limited and chaotic coastline. "Where did you get that picture?" Sakura asked. "Ninja Man's Monthly. They did a special issue on her last year. I had to go all the way to Shibuya in the east to get one," Naruto explained as he folded the image and banner before slipping them into one of the many hidden pockets of his coat. "What I wouldn't give to just see them in the flesh once. Ah, I could die happily after that." Ino laughed and shook her head. "You're impossible and hopeless. As if Tsunade, of the Sannin, by the way, would ever consider you more than a pervy little fan like you are. She'd overlook you as easily as a bird overlooks a mouse." Naruto held up a finger and poked her nose. "That's why I wear such bright colors," he commented, "because even a bird at its highest notices the powerful kitsune on the ground." "That's enough of the chatter. Iruka roared after Nakato was revived. Now is the time for your third test, the target practice. You will all go to the special field set up. This is also the first exam that will be viewed by those you gave visitor passes to. You will be given 20 kunai and 20 shuriken. You can use as many as 10 or as few as 1. However, you must hit at least one target more than 50 meters away. Do you understand? Iruka finished. As when the class answered, "Yes, Iruka-sensei." Then follow me. The 30 students, their teacher, and their watchers moved swiftly from their classroom on the second floor to the training field where a large grandstand had been set up so the families of the students could watch. Naruto nearly jumped for joy when he saw a familiar arch of purple hair and black bandana. He waved and Anko and Ibiki waved back. His face dropped when he saw a certain wave of silver hair and orange book. Kakashi looked up and waved at Naruto with his eye closed representing his smile. "Damn it, he's here too?" Naruto grumbled. "You say something dead last?" Sasuke snapped. "Gonna cut a target in 2 Uchiha," Naruto answered. Sasuke smirked smugly and shook his head. "Don't strain yourself. Wouldn't want that sister of yours to have to come down and wipe your eyes. Don't get jealous, Sasuke. I may just have to bury my face in a loving bosom to ease the suffering of my failures," Naruto countered with a laugh. "Ooh, is that Hana, Kiba? Ask her if she's got a knot I can help her with." "Eat shit, Naruto. You're the dog." Kiba growled, but a bark from Kuromaru, his mother's dog, caused him to flinch. He walked over to them and listened to a small pep talk from the older animal. Sume herself was absent because of an important situation in their kennels, but Kuromaru had made sure he and Hana would be able to attend. The elder Inuzuka child lifted her hand to Naruto and beckoned him over. Iruka was explaining the test so Naruto had time. "How you been, Foxy?" she asked. "Pretty good. I hope you watch closely, Hana. I'll make sure to make the kanji for your name with my kunai today, an homage to the prettiest flower in Konoha," he said, taking her hand. Hana grabbed Naruto's wrist and twisted his arm so he was bent backward with his head in her lap. "Don't push it, Naruto. I wouldn't want to break you in front of Mommy Anko. She'd punish me. Promise I can watch from my hotel room?" he asked. "Sis," Kiba cried when he noticed what was happening. "Calm down, Kiba," Hana scolded. She let Naruto go and pushed him and Kiba back toward their group. "Touch my sister again and I'll tear your throat out, Uzumaki." "Your sister? Yeah, what about your mom? She's old and I think she needs a good rubbing out now and then." "Oh, you mother F you," Kiba stopped himself before he invited another argument. "Now the test for throwing will be done by gender and then alphabetically. Aburame Shino, take your projectiles and walk up to the starting line." Shino did as he was commanded and drew 5 kunai and 5 shuriken. He put them off to the side on special stands and spread his hands out over them. Naruto's eyes narrowed as he noted that Shino had spread them out evenly both sides. With a burst of arm speed, Shino launched all 20 in a controlled and powerful boost that caused the close target pillar to explode from the target up. "Excellent, Shino," the collection of parents murmured happily. "He is skilled with both," Ibiki noted. "I'm amazed that he was able to so easily focus them to a single spot." "He used a bug," Anko noted. "Ah, the pheromones. Even though he chose the shortest distance, it was very impressive. The accuracy needed more than made up for the choice of target." The test went smoothly with most of Naruto's classmates doing well. However, the high point was when Shikamaru stepped up and took only 1 kunai. He tossed it in his hand 3 times then threw it. The blade flew straight into its target, and dug straight through to land at the base of a second. "Way to go, Shik!" Naruto and the Nara clan attendants cheered. His father wiped a tear from his eye in pride. "Amazing," Ibiki noted. He found the one target where the grain of the wood matched up perfectly. And then threw it with enough force to drive it through with minimal effort. "That, I must say, was the best display of control." "I agree, but neither our boy nor Uchiha have stepped up yet," Anko replied. "You say that like it means something," a catty voice called from behind. Anko and Ibiki turned, turning on their "we kill people for a living" faces to see Haruno Sakari. "Wonderful. Bitchius Supremus," Anko saw. "If I dug out her eyeballs with a melon baller, would I be convicted of unnecessary force or be given the monthly award for originality in interrogation division?" Ibiki considered. "Your little demon won't pass this test or any other," Sakari chided. Anko waved her hand dismissively and turned away. At least my carpet matches my drapes, bitch, Anko grunted, commenting on Sakari's blue-dyed hair. Just ignore her. Next, Uchiha Sasuke. A squeal from his fangirls made the parents and males cringe in anguish at the sound. Sasuke ignored them and took 10 shuriken. He stepped up to the line and looked for a good target. May I make a request, sensei? Sasuke asked. Iruka looked up from his clipboard. Very well, what is it? Can you move 3 of those pillars so they are in front of each other? 200 meters out? The crowd flew into a flurry as Iruka nodded to another instructor. Using an advanced earth technique, he did as Sasuke requested. The arrogant boy picked up 2 handfuls of the blades. Everyone watched as the blades neared the first pillar. They scratched softly into the wood before whirling around to do the same to the second pillar before embedding themselves into the final on. However, while it was impressive, it hit only the pillar, not the target. Even so, the entire group of girls and students broke into cheers. Naruto's eye twitched. Show off. Time to wipe a smile off his face. After Nikado went, Naruto stepped up and grabbed a single kunai. Naruto looked across the field for a few seconds before running back and grabbing 3 more. He then ran back into a full 10. Today, Naruto. Sakura called from behind him. He ignored her and took hold of 2. He analyzed the field once more. Because of Sasuke's request and the fact no one had aimed for his mess of a log had kept a good portion of the field clear. With a smile, Naruto charged chakra and made several hand seals. What is he doing? Hana asked. As Naruto's kunai began to glow, he threw them, embedding them into 2 separate logs at odd angles. He took 2 more and threw one into the ground and another into a tree branch. Hey Naruto! The targets are red, Kasuna yelled, causing an uproar of laughter. Naruto tossed 3 more into odd places and smiled as he turned to face the parents and his classmates. Sorry, forgot for a second. Without looking, he threw each in a swift volley. A series of ringing filled the field as each kunai bounced off of Naruto's previous to embed themselves completely in the center of the farthest back pillar Sasuke had requested. The onlookers gaped at what had happened. A teacher inspected one of the kunai Naruto had charged and noticed the rings had been twisted to resemble a funnel. His jaw dropped as he realized what happened. Naruto bent the kunai's ring to make guides for his final 3. Even if they hit at an odd angle, the way they were structured would cause the impact to divert in the direction Naruto wanted. Naruto waved to the stunned onlookers, except for Anko and Ibiki, who were nodding with approval. No one one-ups a show-off like Naruto. The female branch of the exam went the same, however Sakura did poorly due to the intense gaze of her mother. She did hit a target, but it was nearly the second closest and it was far off center. Ino, on the other hand, was able to effectively show she was the best kunai thrower in the female half of the class. She hit all 10 of her targets, despite being unable to throw very far or getting more than 2 direct hits. As the test ended, Iruka addressed both the students and the parents. We've tested your children's abilities with their minds and bodies. We will now test a combination of both with the final and most important part of the exam, ninjutsu. Naruto's grin spread from ear to ear. My best subject.
That's all for now. If you enjoy this video, then please like, share and do comments.